So the current research that we're working on is to try to understand how pollutants influence the way that blubber tissue works in seal pups in particular. So we're trying to find out whether the pollutants that accumulate in fat tissue influence the way that fat tissue works. And on the one hand, that's really important for understanding the drivers of juvenile survival in grey seals. It's really important for grey seals to be big and fat so that they can survive their first year while they're learning how to catch fish. And if they're not nice and fat, then they can't do that so effectively. So we have to understand something about how the pollutants are influencing their ability to manage their fat reserves. But there's also a human implication for it, in that these contaminants are also in the human food chain. We get them through fish, we get them through eating meat and through drinking milk. And so we want to understand if there's a general effect of these contaminants on the way fat tissue works, is that also something that could work to change the way that humans accumulate fat tissue and contribute to obesity. We'll be able to show how these contaminants have changed over time in this population of animals, and whether the policies that are currently in place are actually effective in reducing those levels of contaminants. And then we're also able to look at whether the contaminant levels as they stand now, they've been reduced massively since the 1970s when they were first shown to be a problem. But what we're trying to do is say, well, even if the levels have been reduced, are they still a problem for these animals? And do they still contribute to the survivability of this group of animals? So it's a really quite challenging thing to do, because we're working with wild animals, and so obviously we're not doing experiments on the animals. What we're going to do is go out into the field and temporarily catch the animals, take a blubber sample from them, and then bring that back to the lab, and we can work with the tissue in the lab. So it involves going out onto a grey seal breeding colony and being very sensitive about moving around the colony in order to take the samples, and then having a field lab that we can work in, which in itself is quite challenging. We have to take all this high-tech equipment out on a boat and get a very small lab set up so that it's functional for us to work with. Being based in Abertay and being based in this region in Scotland is really useful, because actually we're so close to a lot of the grey seal colonies, both the haul-out sites and the places that they choose to breed. And so we've got ready access to the wild animals that we want to work with. And Scotland is home to 90% of the UK's grey seal population. So if you want to be a grey seal biologist, then this is a fantastic place to be.
Located on the Firth of Tay, Dundee is well placed to examine all aspects of the maritime world, from marine life to offshore technologies. Dundee is at the forefront of marine research and development, and is therefore well placed to be hosting national and international meetings through our partnerships in Dundee and Angus.